Alright, so I got my Poulan 3750. I call it the Binford Bad Boy. Was ported by Joe, Dino Joe. I don't know what his website is and never do. I can never remember it. Something like work saws. HWS. Yeah, Harkness work saws. Something like that. Anyways, you can find him on YouTube, Dino Joe. If you're watching this channel, you probably already know about Joe. I've been for a couple years battling ghost issues with this saw. When it gets really good and warm, it starts running erratically, and it tunes erratically, and nothing really quite makes sense. I swapped out carbs with what was suspected to be a good carb. Turns out I still had the issue. It did get a little bit better though. But now what I've done is I have adapted a Chinese-made carburetor that is meant to replace the carburetor for an Echo 590. So I have adapted it to this. If you want to see a video on it, it's somewhere on the playlist for this. And we're going to give it a test run and see how it does. Well, I've been putting this off and putting this off and putting this off because I don't want to do it. But I think my case has a crack in it. Now I know I'll get a lot of stuff. Why don't you just spray it? Why don't you vacuum? Blah, blah, blah. All of this jazz. Listen, I know a lot about this saw. I've been messing with it for, I don't know, 3 years. Okay? So originally, whenever I first split the cases on this, because I wanted to paint it, right? I was using a motorcycle crankcase puller, separator. And there was a moment whenever I was doing it where it went click, tink. What has happened there? Oh, this just came loose. It's coming apart crooked, and that is not good. We don't want to do that. And that has haunted me ever since. And I think that as much as in the early days I didn't want to believe that that was the case, because it makes finding that air leak like impossible. You don't know where to spray and stuff. I think that I got a hair crack in my crankcase. I do. I think I've got a hair crack. Because as soon as it warms up, shit like this happens. It clearly cuts good. He did a fantastic job porting it. And so what I'm going to do now, I have slowly been collecting 3750 and 3600 crankcases for different reasons. I don't want to get off topic here. But I'm going to transfer everything on this onto a different crankcase. And of course with new crank seals and stuff as well. I mean, this thing's got new crank seals in it. Because I've never been able to find the problem. I've never been able to find it. And this tells me the last thing that I haven't changed, now that I got a brand new carb on there and it's still running similar, it's time to go ahead and just use a new crankcase. I even went so far as to put new crank bearings in this crankcase. So it's a real loss as far as time goes. It's a real loss. However, this is way too nice of a saw for me just to let sit. Here's the 3600 Timbermaster that I just got. I have already cleaned this up really nice. It was really nasty and dirty when I got it. But it's pretty low use. And I'll go ahead and utilize this. The differences between a 3750 and a 3600 come by way of the flywheel. All right, the flywheel on the 3600 has the old style where you got a little plastic nub getting in there and catching, whereas the 3750 has metal pawls built into the flywheel that the pulley catch onto. So I'll have to swap out the flywheel. Also, they have an impulse line right there coming out of the crankcase. I think that I have an impulse line in the cylinder, and so I'll plug that or plug the cylinder, one or the other. I'll have to do that. There's that roached piston, but the cylinder itself actually turned out pretty good. Very minimal transfer on there. I'll be able to reuse that cylinder. Other differences though, because while we're talking about it, so you got the flywheels are different between the 3600 and the 3750. They both have the same cylinder, same piston. All right. Their impulse line on the 3750 goes into the cylinder. On the 3600 here, it goes into the crankcase. That's easily worked. The intake boot, I believe this has the small intake boot, and I am almost 100% certain that it has the small carburetor. Aside from that, it's just little tiny stuff like this right here gets removed and it's unused with the 3750 nice big top covers. This had like an in-between top cover. Anyways, all right, we're back. So we have literally swapped everything over to a different crankcase. I even had to swap over the gas tank because turns out these things, the 3600 had the small intake, and the small intake came with a slightly different gas tank. You could make it work in a pinch, but I already had a good gas tank, so figured I'd just reuse it. I haven't tried to fire it up. It's at the exact same tune that it was before. Fingers crossed. What? That's not even. Ah, the exhaust came loose. Shit. If it ain't one thing, it is absolutely another. God damn it. Alright, tighten it up. Let's try it again. Watch out, buddy. Nope, go on, go. Well, is it done? Is it finished? Close enough for now. I think I mean, it's not wanting to settle down. And then whenever I richen it up to get it to settle down, it loads up, or at least that's what it seems as though it's doing. But I'm perfectly fine with that for right now. It could be that Chinese carburetor that I put on it, or it could possibly still have an air leak. I don't think that it does, though. I don't think that it does. It put new crank seals in this thing, and it's all sealed up nice. It's good. My impulse is good. I use the good Echo hose, tubing, whatever you want to call it. So it's running pretty damn fantastic. And I gotta say, so I don't know if the videos are even still up, but Kinsey from Bayou Country Saws or something like that, he did a video where he built one of these things and he put a 28-inch bar on it, and he was saying it's pulling it no problem. It's pulling it no problem. That thing's no problem. You see, it's got all kinds of power. It's pulling it no problem. This thing would pull a 28-inch bar. So Now, I wouldn't want to run one. You know how I am. I don't like big bars. So I think that you would be better served with a 24 to 20 inch bar on this guy. But you know, if you were in a pinch and you had to, it'd pull it. One thing's for sure is it would definitely oil it. This thing puts out crazy oil. All of these high tops put so much oil out for the bar and chain. It's ridiculous. But finished or not, I am at a spot where I am happy. Pretty slick. Oh, really good job, Joe. This thing's quite powerful.